Have I been avoiding making this video? Yes. Have I also been avoiding kind of life? Yes.
And I don't mind being gone on adventures for a while. No, no.
Hello everybody. Welcome back to my channel. This is not how I wanted to film this video. However, I've kind of been avoiding it all morning. Could have had it done by now. And I'm just gonna sit down and film it. Today, June 2nd, 2023, I am officially 90 days or 3 months post-op from my Baclofen pump revision. They call it a revision when you take the old one out and put a new one in. Basically, for those of you who are new here, hi, my name is Emily. I am 26 years old, and I have spastic diplegia cerebral palsy, which means that my lower extremities, my legs, are a little bit more affected than my upper body. And it means that they're tight, they don't bend nearly as easily as the average person. So what a lot of people do is they get on different medications and treatments to control the spasticity and help them live a better quality of life. And so I did that when I was 12 or 13. I got my first pump in 2010, and then I got my second pump in 2016, and then I just got my third pump in March of 2023. And I should say that the pump is from Medtronics, and the medication that I use is Baclofen, although I know that a lot of other people use a lot of different medications. However, I don't know those off the top of my head because I know what only my experience is, and that's what I use. However, this time was a little bit different because I had some post-surgical complications. So let's just set the stage for you. This was my first surgery in a number of years. So I had to get a pre-op physical, had to get blood work, all of that good stuff. And then I also had to meet with my surgeon, but in reality, it wasn't my surgeon. It was my surgeon's physician's assistant, which she was super nice and wonderful, but I still had to do all of that. And they were actually giving me, I met with her sometime in January, and they were actually giving me a surgery date of Valentine's Day, but we didn't do that because we needed to still get pre-op clearance and stuff like that. So we scheduled the day for March 2nd. And I got there early in the morning. I think I had to be there by 9, I believe. I was taken in. And I should have known that the first sign that things were not going to be easy is that I could not urinate for the pregnancy test sample thing. Now, they do that with everybody, but I was like, I cannot pee. Literally, there's nothing. We tried running water. I tried just sitting there playing a video on my phone, just relaxing. The nurse in pre-op, she was super lively and super funny. she was like, I'll squeeze it out of you if I have to. Now, meanwhile, this was my first time at an adult hospital as well. Because in the past, they would just like let me sign a consent, like no worries that like you're pregnant. However, I think at the adult hospital, although stranger things have happened, but I think at the adult hospital there's more of a chance, that you could be pregnant. So again, that's just my personal opinion. I know there's been cases of people who've gotten pregnant at 14 regardless. But anyways, yeah, so they really want you to try to do that. Cause also that's not even like what I learned after this whole fiasco. That's not even the nurse's decision to make. It's the anesthesiologist. So yeah. Although I did know, a pro tip that I did know is that if you can't and all else fails, they can do a blood draw test, but that takes up to an hour to come back, so that would delay your surgery. Yeah, so, but that's a pro tip that I didn't know that I know now. So, yeah, she ended up giving me like a half a bag of fluids and stuff like that, and it was just crazy, and I still couldn't go. She was like, wow. I said, I know. So I ended up signing the consent, like, oh, I'm not pregnant, blah, blah, blah. But I just have to say, like, that's kind of, like, triggering to me, honestly. Like, not that I'm pregnant or I've never, like, experienced a loss or anything like that. Like, not in that sense of the word, but in the sense of the word that, like, I don't know if I'll ever be able to have a family. Like, that dream, like, hasn't left me yet, you know what I mean? Anyways, whatever. So, well, I mean, not whatever, but just, that's just the reality of living with a physical disability that gives you physical limitations. Anyways, so go through the surgery. It's fine. It literally probably only lasts like 45 minutes to an hour. And the hardest part was waking up and, like anesthesia, like kind of affects me wonky. So, we were waking up, and the thing that I had to get used to was my mom was not, so there was like 2 recovery rooms, and my mom was not allowed to meet up with me until the second recovery room. Doesn't matter if I'm a wheelchair user or not, which that kind of sucked, but again, adult hospitals have their own rules, versus the, children's hospital. But anyway, so it was fine. I ended up going home the same day, which I was like, hallelujah, thank you for modern medicine. Reality, all they had to do was take out the old pump and put a new one in. Same dosage and everything. They left the catheter the same, which is kind of interesting because it's the same catheter that I literally got back in 2010. But honestly, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So, yeah. And then like a couple days later, I noticed that I was like really weak in the legs and like just really, really weak. Like it was kind of hard to stand up, and I actually kind of gracefully slid to the ground at 2 a.m. when I was trying to go to the bathroom. Cause this time I was sleeping in the recliner. And unfortunately, a side effect of pain medication is like restless legs and muscle soreness and muscle weakness. But like, it's like, how would you know that for me if it was just my body or if it was pain medication? But whatever, I don't really like to take pain medication anyway. It makes me feel kind of weird. And the only thing it really did was it made me fall asleep like instantly. Like I was not functioning during the day. I was just mostly sleeping, which is a good thing, but still there was no way I could function, you know? So yeah. So I only took like 2.5 days worth of pain meds and then I stopped it, and then I was just doing Tylenol, like 600 milligrams or whatever the higher dose is, like when I needed it. And then that was fine. But then, like a week or so late, I'll have to link the other video because I honestly don't even know. But the reason why I'm repeating this again is because it leads into all the other stuff. As to how crazy this last 90 days has been. So anyways, so I was very, like, unresponsive, to the point where my phone was blaring, going off in my face at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I was not turning it off, I was not answering it, blah, blah, blah. And my mom was like, that's really weird. So, that was the day of a snowstorm. It was actually the end of February. And so my mom, yeah. So that was that. And then, also that day I had trouble standing up and pivoting to the bathroom again. And it took 4 people to get me off the ground. It took my mother, my sister, my brother-in-law, Nolan, and my aunt. And so we called my doctor, who manages my pump, my physiatrist, and he was like, well, could be a UTI, could be the pump, could be, blah, 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 just could be, like, a common cold, or, you know what I mean? Like, it could be anything, and just literally the fact that she had surgery plus whatever is, like, wreaking havoc on her body. But he thought, could be a UTI or whatever. So, we go to the local hospital. They get a pee sample from me because I go in a bedpan because I'm chugging water before I leave. And it says, it comes back, just a little bit of elevated white cells, but no, like, UTI or anything. The elevated white cells could be blah, blah, blah. I know why I went. Like, I was not able to weight bear at all, right? Like, literally was, like, the most fall risk I've ever been in my entire life. So, meanwhile, when I tell you I was there for, like, 12 hours, and all they did was they tested me for sepsis, they tested me for all this stuff, and it all came back normal because I knew that faster than they were able to tell me because my hospital and all of my doctors are connected to my chart, and I was able to see that, and so my doctor, who manages my pump, gave my mom his phone number and was like, listen, text me and, like, tell me what's going on, like, keep me updated because I could have a conference with them and because even though a lot of people have the pump and it's, like, used in the medical community, a lot of people don't know, like, how to use the pump. It's, like, a very specialty, like, study of medicine, I guess. I don't know, but all I know is that, like, the average, like, doctor wouldn't know how to do it. Like, you would need a neurosurgeon, you would need, all this stuff. So they were gonna call a neurosurgeon in from on-call, but my doctor was like, because the next step was to do a CAT scan, because unfortunately the little device that they used to read the pump, my local hospital didn't have. Hindsight's 2020. We probably should have just made our way to the bigger hospital, but it was also a snow day, so we weren't going to do that. So it wasn't until like 7 p.m. that I went for a CAT scan and of like my abdomen and like a little bit of my boobs, and that plays into it in a minute. And somehow my ovaries got in there too. Because so they found nothing with the pump, but however, they found masses and lumps in my boobs, both of them, unfortunately, and they found a cyst on my ovaries. So I was like, great, that's another can of worms that I gotta open. And so we went home. That was like Tuesday in to Wednesday, and then I was gonna meet my doctor on Thursday. So I was like, I'm so tired, but honestly, Wednesday I felt like pretty good. I had made it to the bathroom once, and it was good. But by Wednesday night, I was unresponsive again. I was literally sitting at the table, FaceTiming my niece with my eyes closed like this. And my mom was like, hello, hello, hello. And I basically fainted without hitting the ground. Like I was in my chair and I passed out. That's what happened. So my mom calls the ambulance, and we go to the local hospital, because when the ambulance gets here, they're like, oh yeah, she's not stable enough right now medically to go to the bigger hospital. So actually, and this is where it goes south. So I think this was like March 16th, because I was in the hospital admitted for Thanksgiving for St. Patrick's Day. So I was in the hospital for like 4 to 5 days. And so we get to the big hospital. They realize they can't help me, so they're getting ready to send me to the we get to the local close hospital. They realize they can't help me. So then we get ready to go to the big hospital, but they're like, wait, we need to intubate her. We need to save that airway, blah, blah, blah. So my first time being intubated, luckily I was out of it, so I don't remember a single thing. The only thing I remember is I remember getting into the ambulance at my house because it was dark outside and I was freezing. And then I remember them asking me questions, like what my name was, like how old was I, like how I was feeling. And then I remember throwing up all over that poor paramedic shoes because I started vomiting. So yeah. And then closed my eyes, don't remember a thing. And then I remember I was sitting in the hallway at the little hospital, and then don't remember a thing for like all of these hours. And then that's because I was intubated on medication to kind of like sedate me a little bit, while they did all these tests and blood work, and I woke up and I had like 2 IVs in my arm, and it was crazy. So I wake up and I'm like writing on a pad of paper, and I'm like, get this out of me, like I miss my nieces, like. And meanwhile, my grandmother had passed away that December, and this was March, so it was newly very fresh. I mean, it's still been 6 months, but still is very fresh. And I'm like, I miss Nani, blah, 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 you know. I was flipping out. So, and, so, and every time they would lower the medication to, like, have me do a test, and then they'd, like, put it back up, and I'd fall asleep instantly, you know, because knocks you out, right? So, and they did an MRI, and the pump is fine. Although my doctor was conferencing with my, the doctor at the hospital, and they were like, well, the pump could be working too efficiently, but, like, they weren't gonna lower it because it's not like they see me on a regular basis. My doctor was gonna meet with me as soon as I got out of the hospital. So, but they tested me for sepsis again. They tested my blood sugar all, like, a jillion times, you know, all this stuff. So, I finally get extubated, and that is the most terrifying thing. I still have issues about it. It was terrifying. I immediately started bawling my eyes out. And, my throat was, like, real raspy, and they're like, oh, is that your voice? And I said, no. I said, it's a little raspy. So, yeah. But anyway, so it was just a whole thing. And then I had to get, like, PT and OT at home. And I couldn't even sleep on my stomach. And I had PT and OT for about a month because I was literally not even able to use the bathroom. I was using a commode in my living room, and I was using a Hoyer lift because I couldn't weight bear. And so the end result is that it could be that the pump was working too efficiently. Not that mine before was not working, but that it was working, like I was getting, like almost like when you get a new iPhone and you're like, wow, this one works so much faster than my old one, blah, 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 you know, all that stuff. So, yes, it was the same dose and whatever, but it was, you know, moving at a more efficient rate, you know. So we backed it down a little bit, and I actually do feel pretty good at the dose that I'm at, so it's pretty good. Do I remember what it is to tell you? No, but I will later, maybe in an upcoming vlog. However, my doctor still thinks it was a UTI, because when I was in the ICU, they gave me, like, really powerful antibiotics, like vancomycin and, like, all that stuff. So, yeah. So, I mean, I had some sort of infection somewhere because they don't just give those for no reason. But the reason why I am more convinced that it was a UTI that was never caught, was because I recently had a telehealth appointment with my PCP, to get a referral to get this breast situation figured out, that she was like, oh, are you still on the antibiotics that they gave you in the hospital? And I said, no. And I was like, they never gave me anything. She goes, really? They wrote it down here as a UTI. I'm like, they never told me anything about a UTI. She goes, oh. And I was like, yeah. I mean, I don't know. The only thing that I've learned about this whole thing is that it's just like, it's either one or the other with some people. It's never like all of it. And like with me, it's multiple layers of multiple issues. So, yeah. And also as well, I'm getting a CPAP machine. Or some sort of breathing machine, because when I was in the hospital, I would go to like lay my head back to try to sleep for 5 seconds, and as soon as I closed my eyes and like started breathing like to go to sleep, I would set the alarms off and they'd come running. They're like, what happened? I'm like, I don't know. But then they would give me oxygen and it'd be fine. So, yeah. I went for a sleep study. I won't get those results for a little while. But yeah, it's looking like some sort of sleep machine. Because, and this is what I learned from the sleep tech person, is because I have a neuromuscular disability, which is CP, that like sometimes the chest isn't strong enough, and it doesn't have anything to do with, I mean, yes, weight is a factor, but like skinny people can have sleep apnea too. It's got to do with your chest muscles and your chest wall, and the things other than weight that I have working against me is I was a preemie, and then I was also on the ventilator when I was a baby, and that I was also on the ventilator for like 5 days 3 months ago. So yeah, literally, if it's not one thing, it's another. And I went for a breast ultrasound the other day, and I do have lumps and bumps in both breasts, and I need to get them biopsied. So that's fun. But in all reality, I'm healed great from the surgery. I got my strength back for the most part. Now I'm working on building new strength on top of what I had before. And obviously I needed the surgery, but if I knew that it was going to open this can of worms, I'm like, oh my God. But next time, knowing what I know now, and knowing and learning how common UTIs are after surgery, I'm definitely going to get like antibiotics. I mean, I know they don't probably just give them to you, but I'm gonna see if my doctor would. And yeah, so that is my crazy life for the past 3 months. I literally feel like I'm in fright or freeze, and like I'm putting out fires everywhere. And yeah, but all in all, do I regret having the pump ever? Absolutely not. It's given me the ability to lift my nieces and snuggle my nieces and play with them and run around and push them and, you know, whatever. I mean, I think there's risk with any surgery. Honestly, the surgery went great. My scar looks wonderful. It's just, there's risk with any surgery, and post-surgical complications are real, and they happen every day. And honestly, this was my first time with something this bad, so, but it's kind of like a learning lesson. Like, I've learned so much about my body and how to look for different things about my body. I went to extra therapy because of being intubated, because I still have nightmares about it. I'm still not sleeping great because of anxieties and stuff. But yeah, just one thing at a time and doing the next right thing. So thank you so much for watching. I know that was word salad everywhere, but I make these videos for you guys as well, but I also make them for me. And like, hopefully, maybe a year from now, I can look back at this and I can laugh and say, oh my God, I've come so far. You know, I was freaked out for nothing. I've accomplished so much more since then, you know? Which, I mean, it's not for nothing, but that's like my deflection tactic that I'm doing right now, because it actually is pretty big. So, yeah. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you in the next one.